Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in once again to the Noiseless Madman podcast. This is episode 12. That's right, episode 12. And as I promised last week, or rather as I promised in the previous episode, I was going to be reviewing Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this episode. Before I start, I wanted to mention you can also read a written review that I wrote and posted of this movie on my blog, which is at noiselessmadman.wordpress.com. Again, that's noiselessmadman.wordpress.com, and it's titled just Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice movie review. So. And also, too, I wanted to just warn anybody who reads that review or listens to this, I will be mentioning some spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie yet and you don't want too much revealed, I would say definitely don't listen to this. All right. All right. Well, but even if you're just a little bit curious, obviously you're free to listen or free to read my review on noiselessmadman.wordpress.com. So, without further ado, I'll just get right into it. So far, I've seen Batman vs. Superman twice already. I saw it during the opening weekend on Friday. That was the first time I saw it. And it sold out pretty quickly. I gotta say, I was impressed by how quickly it sold out. Because even back when I saw Star Wars The Force Awakens, I expected that to be sold out pretty quickly too. But it wasn't really sold out, at least here in my hometown, in the theater I went to. Star Wars wasn't sold out at all during its opening weekend. Or rather, the particular showings didn't sell out. But for Batman vs. Superman, they sold out pretty quickly because I went and I was going to see the 7:40 showing, and it was pretty much sold out except for a couple, like a handful of scattered seats left. So I went ahead and got tickets for the next showing, which was 8:40 p.m. And even after I got those tickets, the guy, the guy at the ticket booth or whatever, he said that after I got my tickets, he said that they expected the 8:40 showing to be sold out within like less than an hour, really, less than half an hour. And he was right, because pretty much sold up. So I had to wait in line for quite a while. Honestly, I waited in line for a good hour and a half. But honestly, I'll say it's worth it. So that was the first time I saw it in theaters, and it's definitely one of those movies you got to see on the big screen. And come on, it's Batman, Superman, and not to mention Wonder Woman. And I was blown away by how great it was in the theater, how awesome it was, and which leads me to wonder, why so many critics gave it bad reviews. It's just, the only conclusion I could come to was that the fact that, they must have been paid off. They must have been paid off by someone or some group, some organization, wanting to influence the number of people that went to see this movie. Obviously, I don't know that for sure, but that's what it seems like to me. Because I even read reviews on, I'll say there was one review in particular I read before seeing it, which was on Maxim if you're familiar with Maxim Magazine, on their website, Maxim.com. Of course, I don't know the guy who reviewed the movie for Maxim, but the review he wrote it was terrible. I mean, well, not only was it badly written, but he didn't really make any valid points. He just kind of, all he had to say about just the fight between Batman and Superman, all he really wrote was that he said it was too loud, that he felt it was way too loud and just terrible and blah, 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 all this other stuff. And which, I don't know, to me, it just that one review alone, to me, made it seem like he was paid. He was paid to, and not just paid as a reviewer for Maxim, but, you know, he was paid, or maybe his superiors were paid to ensure that a bad review was written and dispersed throughout the internet and whatnot. That's what it seemed like to me. And okay, I mean, the thing about this movie is it kind of picks up where the last Superman movie ended. If you haven't seen Superman Man of Steel, then obviously it would make sense that you might be a little lost in the beginning of Batman vs. Superman. Mostly because when it starts, once it starts, of course, it kind of like, there's a slight introduction of Ben Affleck's Batman and a short flashback of him, you know, remembering his parents' death. And, but once it gets past that, then it picks up from, it shows Bruce Wayne. He was in Metropolis. Apparently, Bruce Wayne was in Metropolis during the time that Superman was fighting Emperor Zod, or rather, not Emperor, General Zod in Metropolis. And of course, Superman and General Zod, you know, they were smashing through all these buildings and skyscrapers, and a lot of innocent people got hurt just because, you know, they happened to be in the path of all this destruction. And so Bruce Wayne was there, and Bruce Wayne was he witnessed all this destruction. And he also had a kind of a personal experience because one of his buildings, I guess, for Wayne Enterprises happened to be in Metropolis. And that was also one of the buildings that happened to be destroyed. I mean, really pretty brutal. I mean, brutally. I mean, it was one of the buildings that, you know, was really just destroyed and turned to rubble. And then not only that, all the employees, I believe pretty much all the employees, we're talking about, I say a good couple thousand employees probably in this building were all killed, with the exception of maybe, you know, a handful or whatnot, and then also a security guard who happened to lose his legs because a beam fell on his legs, I guess, as he was running out. Didn't have enough time to run out of the building. So Bruce Wayne was really personally affected by, you know, all of this destruction that happened around the battle between Superman and General Zod. So that's where this movie picks up from. And that's one of the things that I noticed too, that even some of my friends and relatives, because they didn't pay much attention to the last Superman movie, or even if they did, they pretty much just said that they didn't bother paying attention, or I don't know. So, but that brings to mind another point too, where I want to say that, you know, if you're not into superhero movies, or even if you're not really into DC Comics or comic books in general, or, you know, comic book style action and drama, then there's a good chance that you're not going to like this movie. I mean, I just want to put that out there. Granted, I know people are used to Hollywood making movies that cater to people who normally wouldn't pick up a book, or that's the bold truth. That's the bold truth. Even people who wouldn't pick up a comic book, and comic books I consider comic books to be one of the easiest forms of reading. I mean, I don't know, but that's just me. So yeah, I mean, if you're expecting this movie to be, which is what I think a lot of the critics expected, that they expected Batman versus Superman to be like something that they could just easily get into without having any knowledge of the DC Comics universe, or even without having any knowledge of previous Batman movies or Superman movies, which really isn't the case. Because I mean, you got to figure there's been there's been a lot of Batman movies made. There's already a lot of them. I'm not even sure. I haven't bothered to count them all yet. And even if you don't count all the ones that came out in the early 90s, and you just count the ones that just star Christian Bale as Batman, just those two movies alone, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, or even I'm sorry, there was another one before Batman Begins, the 3 movies with Christian Bale. See, that's what I'm saying. I was going back to my point that there's a lot of Batman movies that already exist. So I mean, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Even just just going off of those movies, those have so much backstory for Bruce Wayne and Batman and various villains as well. Excuse me. I had to take a sip of water there. So those 3 movies alone, they have so much backstory that, I mean, you would think that the critics would have at least paid attention to those, or I mean, I don't know. It really pissed me off the fact that one of the biggest complaints I noticed that the critics had against this movie was that they were saying that it was unrealistic, or, I mean, and first of all, I'd say, I mean, obviously it's a freaking superhero movie. Of course, it's going to seem unrealistic, and it's. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're kind of expecting more. They're expecting a very watered down version. That's what I believe. They're expecting. And that's why I also believe that they were paid off by some group or organization, though I'm not going to say that I know for sure. It's just a feeling that I have, a gut feeling that I have. They must have been paid off by somebody or someone or some group who is affiliated in some way, no matter how small or big, with Marvel or Disney or some studio that works in conjunction with Disney or Marvel, or I mean, because Disney owns Marvel, so I might as well just say Disney, because that's the way I see it. Because this movie, compared to most of the Marvel movies that have come out, this movie is a lot darker. It's edgier. It's a little more violent. That's another thing I should get across, is that it's not like the violence that's in, say, Avengers, like the past 2 Avengers movies.